From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli,
the Naval Academy Museum presents A History of the Navy in 100 Objects.
Welcome to the 17th episode in our series. Chronologically, we have skipped around a bit for the months of April and May. During April, we commemorated the War of 1812, and in May, we explored the founding of the Naval Academy and how the Navy officer process has evolved. We return now to the post-American Revolutionary War era, to the Barbary Wars. The Barbary states in northern Africa had for centuries declared war on nations that refused to pay tribute for safe passage through their waters. The states seized ships and demanded ransom, or sold the crews into slavery. In response to repeated raids and attacks, in 1801, the United States sent naval squadrons to the Mediterranean, marking the U.S.'s first naval action abroad. Under Edward Preble and other early naval leaders, the U.S. Navy blockaded the coast of the various Barbary states, particularly Tripoli harbor in what is now Libya. Many famous actions occurred during this battle. In fact, this campaign was the crucible in which many of the early naval leaders of the United States that we have talked about honed their craft and developed the skills that they would then rely on when they fought the British in the War of 1812. Recall that the class of 2013, which graduated from the Naval Academy last week, included 223 Marine Corps second lieutenants. On that note, we now discuss our first object relating to the Marine Corps. We opened our episode today with the Marines' hymn, and the first line of the first verse goes, "From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli." To the shores of Tripoli refers to the actions of the United States Marines during this first Barbary War from 1801 to 1805. The Continental Marines had served with distinction during the Revolutionary War, and Marine Corps tradition has it that they were established at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia during this period. The action against the Barbary states marks the first time that the Marines were called in to defend the country from a foreign power in an expeditionary role. The Barbary Wars marked the beginning of the Marine Corps as an expeditionary force, able to be deployed and utilized around the world. By 1804, the blockade and battles with the Tripolitan Navy and shore batteries had reached a stalemate. William Eaton, the U.S. Navy agent for the Barbary Regencies, came up with a plan to help turn the tide of the conflict. He assembled a motley mixture of 400 men, which included Greek mercenaries, European artillery experts, 90 men under the command of the opportunistic brother of Tripoli's ruler, 190 camels, and 8 U.S. Marines under the command of First Lieutenant Presley Neville O'Bannon. Landing in Egypt, this force marched overland to Tripoli for 6 weeks and arrived in Derna, the easternmost town under Tripoli's control. After the governor of the town refused to surrender, Eaton and his force attacked on April 27, 1805. Eaton's small force was outnumbered more than 2 to 1, but a second effort, led by First Lieutenant O'Bannon and Midshipman George Washington Mann, succeeded. A counterattack by the Tripolitans pinned down O'Bannon's force, but the USS Constellation arrived, bringing news that the Tripolitan ruler had agreed to end the conflict. The Americans left on the Constellation, and Midshipman Mann carried with him a souvenir, our object today, a Mameluke Sword. We go now to Jim Cheevers, Senior Curator of the Naval Academy Museum, to learn more about this sword.
The sword in the case here belonged to Midshipman George Washington Mann, who picked it up as a souvenir during the Barbary War with Tripoli in 1804. We know that Midshipman Mann was in the party led by Colonel Robert Eaton, marched across the desert of North Africa and captured the stronghold of Derna. And this was one of the souvenirs picked up at Derna. It was used as the model for the U.S. Marine Corps officer's sword, which we still use today. It has the famous Mameluke hilt or grip named for the Mameluke people living in Egypt at that time. Midshipman Mann was a native of Annapolis, Maryland. He was born here long before they thought of putting a naval academy at Annapolis. He went to the local college, St. John's College, and then into the Navy and off to the Mediterranean to serve in the squadron under Commodore Edward Preble that fought the Barbary state of Tripoli in 1803-04. Well, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you appreciate these wonderful objects here in the United States Naval Academy Museum.
We fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title